Off.
A lot to clean up. Have to kick off from the 20 because of the penalty. Southeastern should have great field position as Hayes is going to fill this from the 16 across the 25-30. He's got the left side. He's got the kicker to beat. Can he? He does. Brandon Hayes, his second kickoff return of the year. No flags, and the Lions answer just like that. 2 for 1. Bam, bam, up 20-7.
And that's special teams. That's twice, twice in 2 weeks we've had a kickoff return. And thank goodness our special teams is clicking tonight.
Welcome to another edition of the Southeastern Sports Network podcast as we march along into week 9 of the college football season. And your Southeastern Lions move their record to 6-2 on this season and perfect in the Southland Conference in 2025. 4-0 in the league play, Mark. All got started with the win in week 1, UTRGV in Strawberry Stadium, and they just kept stacking the wins now. That's UTRGV, McNeese, Northwestern, and now Houston Christian this past weekend in Texas. The Lions turn their attention to the other Lions in the Southland Conference. Lions will play. We'd like to double up our mascots in this league, Mark, as you have now the Vaqueros, which is Spanish for cowboy. So now we have 2 Cowboys, we have 2 Cardinals, we have 2 Lions, we have a Husky, and so go on and so forth. So anyways, but the Lions of Texas A&M, or East Texas A&M University will be coming into Hammond this Saturday, the final Saturday home game of the regular season. We sure hope that the Lions are playing the Saturday after Thanksgiving for a playoff game on a Saturday, but we won't count our chickens until we come to that point in the season. So final home game for the Lions on a Saturday. If you have not been able to make it out to a game, try to get out there to this team. This is a good football team, one of the best that Southeastern has put on the field in all of Frank Selfo's time here with this program. Check this team out in person. They really are a good watch, and this is potentially to be a really good game this Saturday. As I said, East Texas A&M comes into town for a 6 o'clock kickoff in Strawberry Stadium. Mark, hope you're doing well today.
I am doing outstanding. Just got back from Coach Selfo's radio show. It was packed house at Brady's as always, and this time of year is always exciting with the fan base getting ramped up. It's a good football team, and everybody's behind this football team, and you'll love to see it. But I'm really impressed with your ability to flip a switch. We're just talking, and all of a sudden, boom, you go right into podcast mode and do a great job as always. But no, great start to the season. Obviously, 6-2. You got the 2 FBS losses that I think everybody had factored in along the way, hoping you could get still one, but it didn't happen. But doing pretty much what we thought this team would do against FCS competition. It's been a dominant stretch so far. I think at least 14 points or more in every victory in the FCS. It's going to get tougher from here on out, I think, starting this week with East Texas A&M. But this football team, as Coach Selfo talked tonight, it's a veteran football team. It's just a sound team, a veteran team that knows how to win. The defense shows up every week. Offense, this week had a little bit of a step back with playing a good Houston Christian team. I thought they were pretty good on defense and have a style of play that's similar to Louisiana Tech that gives opponents fits. I think they're giving up under 5 yards per play, and they've defended in every game they've played. So that's really not a surprise that Southeastern had some struggles offensively. But again, the defense showed up, special teams, and able to gut out a win in a game that doesn't have a lot of atmosphere at Houston Christian. And I think all things considered, this team dug down deep and found a way to come out in the second half and dominate.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to look at it. You just look at Houston Christian's scores through the season, very vindicative of this game. I think the Lions have scored the most points on them in any division FCS opponent this season with 38. They just I don't want to say muddy the water, Mark, when they play these games, but they just kind of
gum it up. That's what I say.
It turns into like pigs wrestling in the mud, so to speak. It doesn't look pretty, but that's the way they want to play, And they went, I thought they were you kind of looked at the numbers leading into the game. I didn't really watch them much this year. You look at the numbers leading into the game, and you kind of look at the scoring in the season, and you knew they were struggling offensively. But watching them in person, they are really not a good offensive team. And so I think when you have them, and they get a couple good running backs who can make some plays maybe here or there, but just not a very good offensive team altogether. And especially when you're playing a defense like Southeastern. So when you have that kind of a situation, you've kind of got to find a way to bring the opponent down to your level to stay in the game. And they kind of did that for a little while in the first half, but the Lions ended up stretching it out with their ability to make big plays offensively and defensively.
Yeah, they're a football team, and I said this coming in. And matter of fact, this game played out pretty close to exactly like I thought it would. I thought it would be kind of a muddy game, as you said, gummed up early, and again, they caused confusion. Whether they were calling out our snap count, stemming, or whatever they were doing up front, we had 5 or 6 false starts.
Six false starts.
Yeah, 6 false starts in this ball game. We had another where we had too many men in the huddle and that sort of thing.
They haven't had 6 in their first 7 games.
Yeah, I think there were 5. So I think what happens is they stem up front. Stemming basically means they move. They'll show a 3-man front. Sometimes they'll slide and move. And what they'll have is a call defensively that mimics a snap count. And when it does, somebody flinches on the offensive line. And Frank Selfo pointed out to the officials, and again, they let it slide. Some are a little bit more, I guess they're more sticklers for it and calling it. This crew wasn't. And anyway, you had 6 false starts, and it set back. In other words, instead of having a 2nd and 4, then you're penalized 5 yards because you gained 6 on first down. Now you're 1st and 15, and several times it cost Southeastern ability to maintain drives in this ball game. And of course, you turn the ball over 3 times, but they present you a front, 3 down linemen, 3 linebackers, 5 defensive backs, and again, those linebackers are basically running around free, and they give you all kinds of different looks. They'll show man, zone. They disguise it pretty well, and our quarterbacks had a difficult time deciphering what they were in. And again, it's probably just due to a better job reading defenses this week, and made it difficult. And again, when you turn the ball over and you have pre-snap penalties, it's hard to score and maintain drives, and that's what happened. So it was a 7-7 game right before the half. You had a fumbled punt by HCU. Southeastern was able to get the ball. You had 1 play left with 2 seconds left in the first half, and able to punch that in. They had a penalty, and then you run the second half kickoff back. And at that point, once you got a working lead in this ball game, they were able to go ahead and get back to basics and salt the thing away. And you knew they were going to have a hard time scoring points offensively. They had a bust on the defense at a 73-yard run, which set up their only offensive touchdown. You knew that probably wasn't going to happen again. There was going to have to be another bust somewhere for them to score. It didn't happen. So once you got that second score, you felt pretty good about winning this football game. But make no mistake, HCU is a good defensive football team. They give up under 5 yards per play on defense, and nobody has scored a lot of points on them. Matter of fact, as you said, 38 is the most they've allowed an FCS opponent. So I know you got to look for things to improve on. I know Frank Selfo wasn't very happy after the game. I know tonight, upon further review, he said, "You know what? We just need to be thankful for this W, take it, and move on. We're 4-0 and get ready for East Texas A&M."
Yeah, I mean, he can't say this stuff, and this may be why he's kind of rethinking his philosophy here. But this game is a total game that you would imagine. I won't call it a deflated balloon, but a little air comes out. You played these 2 games of almost perfection.
There's no atmosphere in the building. Let's face it.
That's what I'm saying. You play these 2 games of almost perfection against McNeese and then Northwestern. You had homecoming. You're at home, and you kind of just like, oh gosh, the tape's not impressive to watch during the week. You're having to kind of travel to Houston. You look at the weather forecast offensively, you look at the weather forecast all week, and you're kind of like, we're going to be playing through rain from start to finish. And the team
up until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we thought it was going to pour. I mean,
Yeah.
it was,
and you were just kind of in between rains, and the rain pushed out Saturday before the game, and then Coach Shelf, I was talking today his lunch. He said that the folks from Houston Christian were out on the field with like a minute and a half to go, and they were looking at the radar and lightning monitors, and lightning was like within 12 miles, and I think 5 is the threshold, and they were. And they were kind of like, we got to get this game over with because we don't want to delay with a minute and a half left. So that storm was coming, and I know you guys were able to get out of town before it came through, but you kind of had that thought process. It's going to be rainy. It's not a Division I football feel in the stadium there at HCU. It kind of feels like a high schoolish, or
not even in the state of Texas.
Yeah, it's a bad Texas high school. So. You kind of, I think I look back to last year over there, you kind of go in there with this kind of like deflated attitude, so to speak. And it's just tough to go in there and get fully motivated. And like I said, Coach Selfo is not going to say that, but that's the reality of what's going on. So anyways, Lions get the win 38-14. Most importantly, moved to 4-0 on Southland Conference play, 6-2 on the season, heading back home this week, Mark. 6 o'clock kickoff against East Texas A&M, a team that, you had mentioned talking that, could easily be 3 or 4 wins better than their record indicates right now. And so, certainly a dangerous team that you have to be focused on and ready to go, especially with what their offense has been able to do over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, if you compare them to Lamar, who is having a great year, 7-1, and ranked in the top 15 of the country, ahead of Southeastern at this point. And if you compare them to Lamar has found a way to win games. East Texas A&M has found a way to lose some games. So consequently, Lamar 7-1, East Texas A&M 6-2 or 2-6. You could easily flip this 2-6 around to 6-2, and East Texas A&M will be up among the league leaders. They had a chance to beat Lamar, found a way to lose it in the final seconds. Had SFA on the ropes this past week, lost by 10 at home. Had a 3-point loss to Grambling in there. An 8-point loss, a 50-42 loss to North Carolina Central, is a good team out of the MEAC. You flip those games on their head, and this team is 6-2. So their 2 losses were Florida State and SMU. So that was their FBS competition. But this team that can throw the football. We've seen their quarterback Ron Peace last year, and also their backup Rodriguez, who actually beat Southeastern in our building in 2022, is the backup on that team. They have 2 really good wide receivers. They're athletic. This is a team that has good football players. This is a good tradition. This is a football program that has a national championship at the Division II level, and were a Division II power when they moved up. And of course, if you remember back in 2022, they came in and gave Southeastern their first conference loss their first FBS win or FCS win against Southeastern in the Southland Conference back in 2022. So you got to be ready for this football game. I mean, you look at the records of 2-6, but it's not a 2-6 football team. They can throw the football. Defensively, they give up some points, but Southeastern's have to come and play on Saturday night.
6 o'clock kickoff in Strawberry Stadium. If you haven't been out to a game yet, looking to go, this is the last Saturday home game of the season. It's guaranteed. The Riverville Classic will obviously be the final game of the season on a Thursday night. So get out, Military Appreciation Night, final Saturday before the clock turns or the time changes. So, it'll get dark early at Strawberry Stadium on Saturday night, and the rest of the way, it's going to be early darkness. So if you want to get the family out, it's supposed to be a great weekend. It's supposed to get kind of cold Thursday and Friday.
Unbelievable weather forecast for Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's about 71 degrees. Probably going to be in the mid to low 60s at kickoff, dropping into the 50s. So get out there, support the Lions, be in that number. It should be a great atmosphere on Saturday, and the Lions will hope to go to 7-2 on the season and 5-0 in Southland Conference play. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk about Lion men's hoops, getting preview on that as that season is about to tip off here in just a couple weeks. This is the Southeastern Sports Network podcast. All right, welcome back. Southeastern Sports Network podcast, segment 2 tonight. Wanted to mention we had a guest lined up, Damon Sunday, the director of broadcasting for Southeastern Athletics. We were going to talk to him about the excitement in the Robin Roberts new media center on campus, the new building that was opened up 2 weeks ago. Damon, not only with his title of being the voice of line baseball director of broadcasting for the athletic department, he also runs 90.9 FM The Lion, which is the campus radio station, and they had a huge hand in putting on that event with Robin Roberts. And wanted to talk to him about a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff that went into that. So, and then also talk a little bit about baseball as they prepare for the Fall World Series coming up here very soon. But unfortunately, he fell under the weather at the last minute and could not come on tonight. So we hope he feels better soon, and we'll look to we'll hope to get him back on here very, very soon to talk about what was a great day for the university. So Damon Sunday is supposed to be our Gateway Forward guest. We'll get him on again here very soon. So Mark, turning to hoops. They had media day today in the Southland Conference for men and women. We'll hit the women just quickly. Head coach Jeff Dow is the new coach there. Obviously, Ed Gazzardo moved on to McNeese State. Took a lot of players that were here, and he's kind of had to rebuild and take over. I think I heard him. I went to an event back in September when he spoke to the community, and I think he said when he got here, he had like one person on the roster. And so he had to build a roster in a very, very short amount of time. And that's not easy. It's easier now, Mark, as you know, with the transfer portal, as opposed to maybe what it was 5, 6, 7 years ago. But 5, 6, 7 years ago, at the same time, most of your roster wouldn't have been able to just leave like that. So it kind of give and take, but he's going to put the best product he can on the court, and we hope for the best for them in 2025, 2026.
Well, yeah, Jeff Dow comes from UIW. Did a great job there. And, of course, Ayla Gazzardo moves on. He happened to be was let go at UIW, but conveniently falls right into the Southeastern job. But, again, Ayla basically took the entire roster with her to McNeese. And this is a total rebuilding job from the ground up. And I think he's done a great job addressing that here early. This first year may be a little bit difficult in terms of W's and wins and losses and all that, but I think he's assembled a competent roster to be able to go out and compete and represent the Lady Lions and Lion Nation well. And I know he said just be patient, and I think eventually here in year 2, year 3, I think you'll see this team right back on the rebound for Lady Lions basketball.
David Kiefer and his team picked kind of in the middle of the pack of the Southland Conference preseason polls, but look, I think basketball is a league that never seems to play. I mean, I think McNeese the last couple of years has been picked to win, and they were just kind of a unique situation with Will Wade and the talent they had. But I think you go back on basketball, I bet if you looked over the last 20 years in the preseason conference picking in basketball, it really has never really worked out the way they pick it. So none of that really matters. And Coach Kiefer's got a good squad, added some new players, got some guys returning who are big contributors in 2024, 2025, and looking to, they got off to a great start last year with some really nice play and non-conference play, had some nice wins, beating Tulane last year on the road, beating UL Monroe on the road. They'll look to do that this year and to carry that play into Southland Conference play in the new year.
Well, late in the year last year, they were poised. They were right there with McNeese, within a game or two of or at least a 2 seed in the conference tournament. And, of course, lost that tough loss at home to McNeese, and then lost 3 or 4 in a row to close out the season and kind of limped into the tournament. But they were right there. I think they won 10 or 11 in a row at one point. And again, was sitting on 18 wins. I think they were 18-10 and ended up 18-14. So, but I've had a chance to get out and watch practice and see this team. And I think this is a much better basketball team here in 25, 26. It's more athletic. It's more in tune to what David Kiefer and his staff want to do. Obviously, you had Brody Roberry in the past at 6'11", basically a 7-footer and almost 300 pounds, who brought a certain type of style of play to the court. But now he's moved on. I think they're able to be more athletic. They brought in a lot of transfers, and I think this is a team that And again, these things aren't, meant for public, but if you go by the maintenance man or whatever who snuck in, they had a close scrimmage, which they dominated, and then state.
Everybody else posted their scrimmages on Twitter.
Everybody does. But the bottom line is they dominated a D1 opponent in state by 40 points. And it probably wasn't that close. Now that team's probably going to have a tough year, but you did what you're supposed to do. A good team is supposed to do against a team like that. And they showed the ability to shoot from three, ability to defend out front and the perimeter. Jeremy Elize is the key returnee. I think he's got a chance to be a player of the year candidate in Southland Conference as a sophomore. He's taken a big step in his physical development. You bring in a couple of guys who were teammates in junior college, and Isaiah Gaines and Ethan Pickett, who both come from other Division I programs, but they have played together in the past. And of course, Gaines had played in a Final Four at Florida Atlantic and comes from Radford, and Pickett from UIC, University of Illinois Chicago. Two very good athletic players, 6'8", 6'5", apiece. And then, of course, Peter Heimschmeyer was a professional in Europe who has 3 years of professional experience under his belt. He'll come in here as a true freshman at 22 years old, who's wise beyond his years, a guy that's a playmaker and a facilitator to run the point, can also shoot. And then Glory Edom from UCA is a 6'9" shot blocker. He's bringing a lot of different pieces. Makai Miles from UAB at 6'7", can shoot threes. And so it's a much more expansive roster, a deeper roster, and a team's got a chance to compete. Now, the entire Southland, if you watch the media day today, everybody's gone out. Everybody's in the NIL. And so everybody's brought in players and brought in transfers. So it's all relative, and it's where you compete. But I do think this team's got a chance to go out and compete against anybody in our league, and we'll see where it goes.
Yep. Excited to see the men's basketball program get out. Real quickly, Mark, any non-conference games that are highlights to you coming to the UC this year, and maybe some close road trips for Lion fans to make?
Well, really not the UC. I mean, obviously Wednesday night, I will say that, Mississippi College, that's an exhibition game. It will be the first chance to preview this basketball team if you're a student on campus before the holiday break. So Wednesday night coming up in 2 days. Get out to the UC and watch this team play. They play Mississippi College. There'll be a 6 o'clock tip-off. But after that, it's going to be a lot of road games, and they'll start at Ole Miss on November 3rd. I know they play UL Lafayette in Lafayette. That's a chance, a game they may be able to drive to coming up, and I'm trying to figure out the date on that. Get that for you here real quickly. It's coming up here soon, so it's a little hung up here on my internet. But
isn't that right before the Lamar game?
I'll tell you here real quick. That is going to be game 2, second game out, Friday, November 7th, right before the Lamar game. So if you're going to Lamar, if you're going to Beaumont, that's a chance to tag team it. Go to Lafayette Friday night and head over to Beaumont on Saturday. It's 7:30 game in Lafayette on that Friday. And then, of course, they have Georgia Tech, at Mississippi State. And then the next home game before the holiday break will be William Carey. So that'll be on November 19th. That is a midweek game, so it will be a chance to see this basketball team play before conference play kicks off for good. So I'm excited about basketball. I think this is David Kiefer's best roster, in my opinion. We'll see how the season plays out, but talent-wise, it has a chance to be a very good team.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that, Mark, and excited for the season. So easy to watch hoops now when they're on the road with ESPN Plus. Mm-hmm. So tune in and watch this team and keep up to date when they roll around to conference play in 2026. So Lions play the Lions of Texas A&M. I'm going to say that a bunch. East Texas A&M University this Saturday in Strawberry Stadium, 6 o'clock kickoff. You got hoops on the way. You have volleyball and soccer heading into the conference tournament. That conference tournament is also in Beaumont for soccer. I learned that today as well. So a lot of great things going on campus as we make our way closer and closer to the winter break, and hopefully a Selection Sunday where Southeastern is hosting a playoff game in Strawberry Stadium. the Saturday before Thanksgiving, but
That's
maybe there's
the
an
plan.
outside shot.
Oh,
Maybe there's an outside shot that you're off that Saturday. We'll see. Probably gonna be tough to do with kind of the lay of the land of FCS football right now. Being a top 8 team, but if the Lions finish 10-2, they're easily going to be a top 16 team. And if they're 10-2, Mark, they're not going to be a 14, 15, 16. They're going to be more in the 9, 10, 11, 12 range, which you don't want to be 16, because if you win that first game, you're kind of getting shipped off to the number 1 seed right out of the chute. So if you could try to find a way to be 10, 11, 12, and you're playing a team who is everybody's good at that point, but not just this these overwhelming atmospheres of FCS football. If you can avoid that until the quarters, I think that's better for you overall.
Well, the first thing you want to do is win this week. It's East Texas A&M, stack them, and if that comes to fruition, you just want to go wherever you can. You just want to get in the playoffs. And it's been a 2-year absence since Southeastern's been in it. And I think this team's equipped to play for a while. Obviously, the matchup, who you play and when matters, but I think this team's got a chance to line up against anybody in the country and compete probably better than they have in the past as far as both offense, defense, and of course special teams. So we'll let it rip and see how it goes.
Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week talking more Lion football, hopefully talking about a win against East Texas A&M and looking ahead to maybe one of the biggest games on the calendar in the 2025 season, Lamar Cardinals and Beaumont. So let's get through this one. Look ahead to that one next. We'll see you next Monday night or next week when you're watching this. Thanks for joining us. I'm Robbie Rhodes for Mark Willoughby. We'll talk to you next time. This has been a presentation of Lion Up Podcast Productions. We'll talk to you next week as the Lions continue on hoping to win a Southland Conference championship. Thanks for joining us, folks. Talk to you next time.
Bye now.